The engines roar in the background, the sun begins to set, the green flag flies, and we are racing here in very, very sketchy indeed contact, and there goes Valentin Barrier. Oh, the leader's lost it. Noah Eder loses it into the gravel at the final corner, loses the lead. That's an amazing bit of work there from Luke Addison.
Inside we have three abreast heading into Brual.
It's been lights to flag victory for George Bidby. He's done everything that's been required. It's looked so bloody easy yet again. The chips are almost up as we head to Watkins Glen for the penultimate round of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship Season 3. The sun is about to set and the champions are about to be crowned. We have just got 2 rounds left to decide things, and oh my goodness me, this is going to get very, very spicy indeed. You can see there Watkins Glen here is round 11, and then we end things with a 90-minute race at Nordschleife. It is going to be fun and frivolity all the way around. Make sure that you do not miss anything. A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Christie. It's an absolute pleasure as always to be here with you on the Genisus Extreme YouTube channel. Joining me as ever, it's a welcome return to Joe Peake. Joe, welcome back to the booth here. Second last rounds now. It's ridiculously close at the top of the championship. We'll see the points very shortly, but this is it. This is make or break tonight.
It is, and what a track to have it on, because this is kind of another old school circuit. Now they have modernized it with a fair bit of runoff, but there's so many places where you'll see that the barriers are right up against the track. So any little mistake could wind up being quite costly.
So it feels honestly like all roads lead to New York this past week. Of course, iRacing having their special 6-hour event here at the Glen, which leads us on nicely to this penultimate round. But for prizes for this Season 3 championship, it's a $1,250 prize pool split over the top 6 there, with the leader getting $530, 3 months Coach Dave Delta subscription, and a set of IMB gloves as well. Definitely not to be sniffed at. And again, one of the more generous prize packages that we see in these community championships here, Joe.
It is. It kind of amazes me how much they're able to offer here, and definitely love that they give that out as incentive. As we see a few of the shots around this circuit, a lot of woods as well out here. The upstate New York honestly is extremely pretty. Sounds like though we've got some highlights from the previous race, so why don't we take a look at what went down?
But let's go through your grid then. As on row 1, Maciej Malinowski lines up alongside Amadeo Castorino, and then on row 2, Marco Bischoff is going to be alongside Noah Eder. Maciej Malinowski, Amadeo Castorino going to lead the cars down. We go green flag racing, 60 minutes, and Castorino immediately jumps in behind Malinowski there, caught out by the jump as we got 32 cars trying to make their way up through Rajon for the first time, and it does look okay just now, but I get the feel here, Jake, this is going to be a very, very chaotic start here, because we've got at least 6-7 cars here all baying for blood as they come into Lake Hume.
Heading in through towards Watkins Glen. Off the road goes Jaroslav Honzik there. Was that contact with Shada?
That's an early one as whoa into the source. This is starting to get a little bit spicy here. So there we go. Bischoff has lost third position. Marco Bischoff up the inside. Is he going to have it? He does. So Marco Bischoff back up into P3. Sasenko tries to hold it but cannot do it. That is an unbelievable sequence of events there, Jake. How that actually might come to be there, as you've got all sorts of chaos. Tariq Adam involved in front there with Sakari Lehtinen fighting out the 2 Hondas almost side by side there. Great move up there by Marco Shada to get ahead of Tariq Adam.
This Risk Kaizen Championship replay is what George Boothby ends up with right now. All of the scrapping in front, and in fact he takes attack from behind. and I think George Boothby here is going to get away with it because he was a passenger to that accident.
Right, okay, where do we even begin trying to unpick this one? Bischoff is now just ahead of Satsenko as he comes down to the source on lap number 8. Is it going to be a dive up the inside? It is! There's a huge dive on the brakes there for Satsenko, but he's gone far too deep, and there goes Marco Bischoff again up the inside. And again, they're not, but here comes a Ferrari, 3 wide down Italy Com. Something's got to give, and that is going to be Grant Caracas who decides he wants nothing of it. Are you kidding me? Right the outside for Mikhail Satsenko. That is Lucas Schubeck. And I believe that car is already into pit lane. So he's done. Oh, there's chaos. That's the car he's letting in.
And then round at the final chicane.
Let's have a look here at what happened. So that's into the bus stop. And that is going to be Marco Bischoff then. And that's Grant Caracas. So Caracas gets hit round. Holds onto the... right, okay. So 2 things there. One is Caracas didn't hold the brakes when going in. Hit the side of the Honda, who just booted the power down. Look at what we've got here. So this is Alexander Mayetzin, so it does look like this is an unassisted issue there. Yeah, you can see he's already lost the car, heavy into the car there, and he's very lucky not to collect anyone. So there is Jean Rochelle trying to get past Jimmy Holm. Jimmy Holm has a little bit of a wiggle, and I think escorted out of that position. The inside line, yeah, this is going to cause contact with the 2 of them. Yep, contact. More contact. Here comes the Ferrari just to make it even better. No way. This is going to be absolute death. I just know it. Absolutely know it. Holm tries to slow the car down around the outside, but that's Ferrari is going to have the inside line. The Lambo tries to power it in here. This is absolutely unsettled business. Holm tries to fire up the inside. To be fair, coming around Speaker's Corner, he's got the run coming down into double gouge here. Who's going to break late here? Is it going to be the Ferrari on the outside? It's going to be the Lambo on the inside. Little nibble from Chris Hartfeld here. And this is all starting to get a little bit spicy. To be fair, that was an awesome, well-executed move there by the homing missile. It's back-to-back wins for Maciej Malinowski, for Veloce, across the line in the Porsche. Second place is going to be Amadeo Casarino, a well-deserved second place. And Lobmeyer might end up losing this position, or get the position from the McLaren here. Remember, a 15-second penalty, and somehow takes... And Boothby, yep, absolutely spot on, up to P8 ahead of Tariq Adam. That's going to be P7 overall there. So that is going to be then Lobmeyer in P4, Bischoff in P5, and chaos at the final corner. Santima spun round, tries to avoid everything that's going on here. Maciej Malinowski then taking the win there at Spa with Amadeo Casarino in second position. That's enough to put Amadeo Casarino at the top of the standings, but it is closer than you would ever imagine. Just 4 points separating Casarino and Malinowski as we come into this penultimate round. George Boothby still there on 713 points. Grantis Caracas as well in 4th position, 670. But Joe, really at the top of the table, there is just way too much to call. It's too close to call right now.
Those top 3 are definitely looking like our protagonists, but today is going to make a big difference because you have to consider the penultimate round essentially means you now position yourself on where you're going to sit in that final race. Are you going to have the advantage? Can you play a defensive role? Or are you going to have to be trying to charge your way forward and take a lot more risks on trying to not only outscore your rival, but prevent them from making enough to keep you from overtaking them? So, yeah, I'd say that this is going to be one of the most important races right here.
Well, absolutely. And the other thing as well is now there is no margin for error. There is no slip-ups allowed. If you're outside of that top 5 and you've got any dream of getting onto that championship winning position, then tonight you have to have the race of your season. Absolutely no question about it. There is nothing other than a win tonight will do you justice. And even if you're in the top 3 there, if you are not on the podium tonight, that is a significant blow to your championship hopes tonight. However, that's all by the by, given that we're at Watkins Glen. That is in itself an incredibly difficult challenge for the drivers out there. They're about to go into qualifying just now. But Joe, talking of Watkins Glen, why don't you take us for a lap round here?
Absolutely, and this is one of the tracks that I can actually say I've been to, albeit it's been about 25 years. So as we come down into turn one. This is called the 90. A lot heavier braking than you'd think because it's downhill plunging into here. Now, you can use a little bit of that runoff on the exit. You don't want to use too much. Get right back onto the racetrack and get on the throttle as soon as you can. That's because coming up through the S's, you're not lifting. You're going to be flat to the floor all the way up onto the backstretch, easily the longest place that is flat out on this circuit, and it's all uphill, so you need that momentum coming into a potential passing zone here at the inner loop. Now, it's tricky, though. Going too wide through here can often lead to disaster, so you need to try and make sure you get it sorted out by the time you get to the first apex, or really hope that your rival will leave you a bit of space when you go through there. Straight line it as much as you can, obviously, and it swings you directly into the carousel or the outer loop. This is another one where it's going to be important getting on the throttle as soon as you can, using that banking to try and get yourself some speed. And then again, downhill braking heavily into the chutes. This is a very treacherous corner. Look at how little runoff is to the outside. And it's also one that requires you to get a pretty late apex on it. You'll switch sides once again. Now into the toe of the boot. This is another late apex corner, but you get a lot of compression at the bottom, in the lowest part of the track right here. And with it being so steep coming out of it, again, you need an early run on the throttle to make sure that you're not slow. One of the other longer straights here where you're on the throttle on the sole up to the heel of the boot, but it's a little bit tougher than you'd think to try and make these passes. You can often carry a lot more speed than it's expected, especially now that they have that paved runoff to the outside there. And a quick switch back. This is one of the most difficult corners on the track. Turn 9. It is diabolical. It's a blind crest. It's off camber, and then look to the right-hand side. Barrier right there at the side. Don't spin it out. Don't understeer to keep your car safe. Finally, the penultimate turn. Again, another one with a lot of banking, but this is a very fast corner. They've added a lot of paved runoff to help save you, but again, you're going to have to switch sides so fast into definitely one of the more dangerous turns because it's like a street circuit here. Watch this. Nothing but wall right there to your left-hand side, and that finishes the lap around Watkins Glen.
Jeez, that is absolutely depressing and awesome at the same time, because when I was doing it in iRacing this weekend, I was lucky if I could get a 146 on this track, and we're already doing 141s on that track guide. So we'll wait and see how that all pans out. George Bruteby is the first car to get a qualifying time in just now, just over 10 minutes. So getting treated tonight, Joe, to a little bit more of qualifying than we normally would get in previous nights. And I enjoy this because it gives us a little bit more context. It allows us to get a little bit more of an idea about just how important this is. I don't expect that we're going to see the times going down crazy, but we are going to see them being very, very close. I would be surprised to see 5, 6, 7 cars within 0.2 of a second here tonight.
Definitely. And, you know, this is an odd one because passing is definitely possible here. So I wouldn't say that qualifying track position are the end-all be-all, but because it's such a draft-heavy track, it's one where I'd say you definitely want to be with the front group so that in case they break away, you can be in that train. Because even if you can make up some positions, once you lose touch with that train, sometimes it can be hard to make up the time at this track.
Yeah, listen, if you're in championship contention and you're not in that top 10, then you might as well sell your rig, paint yourself in silver body paint and go down the street corner, because there's not much left for you in this championship if that's the case. It's going to be so nip and tuck as we get into the end of this qualifying session. So important for just to be able to get up there. As you said, the overtaking chances are very, very few and far between. It literally is going to be down to dive bombs, maybe into turn 1, maybe into the 90, or trying to get out of that long double right-hander as you come out of the toe there. Other than that, you're going to be very, very limited. How often, Joe, have we seen this season where we think, oh, this is going to be a great track for overtaking, and it's just been a slipstream train? Given that that's what we've had so far this season, I can't see anything that's going to lend itself to think that this is going to be an overtake fest tonight.
Well, I think we could see them. It depends on how powerful that draft is going to be. And from what we're seeing here, it looks like it's really making, you know, some slam dunk passes. It's going to pull them along, but like you said, it becomes the truly train or the DRS train that the drivers just can't seem to to get out of as we watch Honzik. Now, in qualifying, it honestly could be a huge help because, I mean, we're talking, you know, a tenth, 2 tenths that you could improve just by timing it right and pulling a good toe from the car ahead like we're seeing here. In fact, I think, is that Boothby in front of us?
I think it is, yeah. I think that's the 800. I think it's absolutely spot on observation. Indeed, there it is. You can see that on the right hand side, the BOO of the booby himself. And I'll tell you what, that's some set of binoculars you've got there, Joe.
Well, I saw a bright purple Ferrari, so I was kind of like, oh, I bet you that's George Boothby. And honestly, the reason I bring it up is because with how fast he is, that's definitely the sort of car that you want to latch onto and get some extra time out of these laps. So let's see if we get a bit of improvement from Honzik because of it.
Now, I remember when we were doing the post-race interviews last week, we had one of the drivers that was actually up in that top 5 saying that they weren't likely going to be able to make tonight. So, given that we've got everybody here, I wonder if that was maybe a little bit of gamesmanship, or if they've just decided that actually things are a little bit closer than they thought. So, you know, why not? But 3 cars within 8/100ths of a second, again, just showing how close things are here. Maciej Malinowski has the right idea. He's tucked in to that Aston Martin just in front and gets released here. Now again, from personal experience, as you're going through that inner loop there, that's going to be one of the big flashpoints for disaster here. So easy to unsettle the car by either braking too late going in or hitting the curbs and bouncing the car across there, and with it being such a narrow part of the circuit in terms of the racing line here, I think that's where we're going to see some big incidents here tonight, Joe.
Yeah, you talk about those curbs, and you know, they from the outside they look pretty wide and flat, so you'd think, oh, it's not a problem, but it's almost like hitting a speed bump because they have enough raise off of there that, like you said, it really jostles the car around. So you need to make sure that you're hitting it at the right angle, you've got the car settled, because it is that bus stop style chicane. So as soon as the car lands, you're having to steer the opposite direction.
Let's hope we don't have too much of that tonight as we're watching Maciej Malinowski currently in P3. 600ths of a second off of the pole time just now, coming through that final corner. Again, just teasing that car as wide as it possibly can go as he goes across the line to take it just 1/100th of a second. And now we've got 4 cars within 1/10th of a second. Okay, that's a little bit wilder than I thought, and we're not finished yet. 6 minutes left to go in qualifying. I mean, that is scary consistency. And yet again, Joe, we've got another 2 cars on identical time. Cody Sherritt and Jimmy Holm, 10th and 11th place, with exactly the same time. And in fact, I think that might be Jimmy Holm's best ever qualifying right now.
Wow. So I wonder if he'll care that maybe he could try and improve and get into the top 10, or if he'll be happy with that. As here we watch Holm now coming down through that bus stop chicane and down through the carousel portion of the track. There is a lot of elevation change here. It gets quite hilly up around the Finger Lakes region, which, as I said, makes for some incredibly gorgeous views. But boy, you need to be aware of that in the car, just because of how much more it's going to suck you in down to like here at the toe of the boot, knowing that extra momentum is there when you try to brake.
And on that note as well, you've then also got to kind of second guess everyone else around you as well. Maybe not so much of an issue here in qualifying, Joe, but in the race itself, you know, the cars aren't going to get anywhere near this sort of pace that they've got just now unless they're in clear air. Because if you're having to defend or you're having to attack a car in front of you, then by default you're not actually going to be going at your ultimate pace here. So that's the bit that I really struggle with as well, is having to watch in mirrors and having to watch in front of you and try and push the car as much as you can at the same time. But I think, to be fair, these drivers out there, it's not their first rodeo, and obviously being part of the LFM Pro circuit, they're very much used to this, and this serves as a fantastic benchmark for their round tomorrow.
You bring up a good point as well in them being around one another. The other problem with that is, while these aren't open wheelers, they're not going to have the same degree of of aero wake problems. These GT3 cars do have a lot of bits that require nice clean air on them to work their best. So once you get up close to someone, it's going to be tough, because as you can see by this map, there's not really a lot of slow, sharp corners. I said this place is old school. I mean, it really is. It's basically just a whole bunch of sweepers combined by long straights.
Right, no, it absolutely is. And it's one of those old school circuits as well, where it's got that flow, it's got that sense of rhythm to it as well, which is obviously why it's still such a staple of the IMSA North American calendar for sports car racing, and still seen as one of the best racetracks that North America has to offer. And when you think about it, you know, a lot of people go on about the UK and how fantastic our circuits are over here, but I always think, you know, America's got such incredible prestige, such incredible variety when it comes to the track. You think of like this, you think of Lime Rock Park, you think of Laguna Seca, you think of Daytona International Speedway. It's a veritable smorgasbord of quality out there. And well, okay then, Genisus Caracas has decided to throw his hat into the ring by setting a 142.882. Now, he was already within that 110 bracket there, but has decided to go even further and punt Amadeo Castrino down by 3/1000ths of a second. So, I mean, this is getting fractional now in terms of how close this is.
My goodness. And they still have 2 minutes left, so enough time for a lap or two here. And in fact, should be able to get 2 more laps in, as Castorino is going to take it right back, but he's not dealing in small margins. Look at that, 0.2 of a second.
Oh my god, I literally choked on my cola that I was drinking there when that came in. That was wild. And there's still more in the tank. I mean, we saw the lap that went in from, I believe it was Cody Sherritt that did our hot lap here. And let's see what George Boothby's got in the tank. So that's opened up the gap now to 0.2 of a second over the rest of them. Does Boothby have anything in store? No, he doesn't. That was a 142.977, so that was 1/100 slower. But again, crucially, he does have another lap to have a go here. Genisus Caracas, though, coming up to the final couple of corners here. This is my favourite corner of the circuit here, this left-hander, because you just have to let go of the throttle and then straight onto the brakes into the final corner here, through onto the right, and again drifting that car out, and then it's just stamp on the power. I'm sure the proper way is to ease in the throttle, but I'm an absolute caveman and just stomp it in, and there we go. It's an improvement, but it's not enough to take pole position right now.
Nope, he's going to have to work a little bit harder than that. Tommy Rozier currently in 4th place, a little wide there, but we'll be able to bring it back on track and try and wrap this one up. Now, is he going to have enough time to get around for a second one? Yeah, he should be able to go around one more time. And Rozier's not going to improve on that 4th position, unfortunately. So off he goes again as we check out Shada.
Yeah, that little noise there from myself was I didn't even notice Tommy Rozier getting up into P4 there. Fantastic qualifying from them just now. But as you said, 25 seconds left to go, so it's kind of make or break now as we see some more cars coming across the line. That was Jonathan Clifford going across the line there. We've got the number 39 of Jaroslav Honzig. This is going to be a big one for Shada, though. What can he do coming across the line? It's enough to get Marco Shada up into P3. And I tell you what, the Honda, I do love the Honda coming across and being able to chip away at things. But George Boothby in P5. So now this is basically what can be done with the rest of the scraps here. Genisus Caracas, does he have what it takes here, Joe, to take pole position, I wonder?
So it looks like Sector 2 was purple for him this time, but he's going to need a really good one on this last sector. Let's see if he can improve by about 1/10. He'll come to the line, and as he crosses, no, not an improvement.
So very, very close, though. So very, very close. All eyes on Maciek Malinowski then. as he comes out of the final corner. It doesn't look like he's going to be doing it either. He's currently 0.2 of a second off, so that's not going to happen here. We've then just got 3 drivers left out there just now. In fact, sorry, make that 6 drivers. Here is Tommy Rozier, who's been bumped down to 6th position. What can he do across the line? Again, no improvement there, just 1/10 slightly slower. And then we've got the number 13. This is Luke Addison, who's going to come across the line. Is it an improvement for Luke Addison? It is, up 3 positions, up to P15. Now we've got the number 9 of Tariq Adam, who comes across the line. No improvement there. Amadeo Casarero comes across the line, and that's not an improvement there. So there we go then. Amadeo Casarero on pole position for the penultimate race of the season. Your championship leader. Crucially, it really put it up the front where it matters here, Joe.
Yeah, so that was, I'm glad that was a chance for us to watch the session a bit more, because my goodness, what drama we had there all throughout that thing. Now they line up though, and this is going to be more important because this is where the points are paid.
Exactly. This, as you were saying earlier on, I think could be the most important round of the season here. We always say that, which is, it's part of our job to kind of hype up the events and stuff. But literally, for anyone that's in the championship hunt, they have to get the points here. And not only that, they have to try and take points away from whoever they're trying to get past here. So realistically, say you're fighting for the championship win here and you're in the top 3, you could happily settle for a podium tonight. You don't need to push for the race win here. It's more about getting the most points that you actually can, but keeping yourself safe while you do that as well. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, of our viewer participation prize tonight. Just type in the word boots in YouTube chat and you can get yourself in with a chance of winning a $10 Steam voucher. But here we are on the grid then. You can see Amadeo Casarero in pole position. He's going to line up alongside Grantas Caracas in 2nd position. It's row 2 for Marco Schada, getting the Honda up to P3. He's going to be alongside the 992 Porsche of Maciek Malinowski. George Boothby in 5th position with Tommy Rozier in P6. It's then Marco Bischoff in P7 with Cody Sherritt. He's going to line up alongside in that row there as well. Also then you've got Jaroslav Honzik in P9, Tariq Adam in P10, Eric Muxka in row 6 alongside Philip Lobmeyer, Albin Manson in P13 with the homing missile Jimmy Holm in 14th position. Luke Addison is on row 8 alongside Abe Santima, and then in 17th position Noel Hache is alongside Philippe Duvlar, and then in 19th it's Samir Foch. He's going to be alongside Tobias Moberg. Ronaldo Bursma is lining up on row 11, and he's going to be alongside Jonathan Clifford. So no surprises there, but again, a very big lineup for tonight, and that is only down to P21 and P22. Rounding out your 25 then, you've got Eduardo Sanchez in P23, Sebastian Louis Alexander making his return in P24, and Roland Stein in P25. So a slightly smaller grid than we've had through the season, but I'll be honest with you here, Joe, I'm absolutely delighted. Given that we're so late into the championship, we know what these community events can be like. Drivers either have something better to do, or they decide that they're going to put their time somewhere else or join another championship, but still a great turnout for the second to last round.
Yeah, this is going to be plenty of cars to keep them busy around the lap here. It should be a good race, and I'm with you. I love to see the attendance basically hold pretty steady here at the end of the season.
So the cars making their way around then. In about 30 seconds' time, they'll be released for their formation lap, and we'll get underway again, of course, PTSD after the weekends and the 7 hours that we were behind the safety car at Le Mans. Thankfully, none of that tonight. We will literally be going green flag until the end. Might be a few yellow flags. In fact, no, there will be quite a few yellow flags. And on that note then, Joe, and maybe we can open this up to chat as well. How many laps do you think it's going to be before we get the big one here?
Well, I'm hoping that it won't be any, but the unfortunate reality is that lap 1 up through the S's has had a history of seeing massive wrecks because it funnels in and there's no place to escape. It's another portion that's a lot like a street circuit with walls right against the track. So I'm going to say we won't get the big one, but if it is going to happen, I think it'd happen on lap 1.
Okay, well, let's see. I'll be honest with you. I think that we'll be lucky to get halfway into lap 1 before it all goes wrong. It's certainly down at the 90, but it's the full lap that they get, so a decent chance to settle the nerves here, Joe, a decent chance to get some heat into the tyres and also get some heat into the brakes. And how important do you think that is ahead of a 60-minute race here?
I think it's going to be very important because of the run down into the 90, especially having the brakes up to temperature and ready to go. You want the car performing optimally because everybody is going to be sending it in down to there. Even though it's not very wide on entry, it's the exit where you'll see cars are just going to fan out to try and find some space so that they can preserve themselves, if you will, making sure that they don't ruin their race right at the beginning. But that said, like you said, it is easy for accidents to happen, especially into that first corner. So you could wind up seeing drivers kind of get knocked into one another. But we'll see whether or not they've got it all ready and that if they hit their marks, because we just got about half a lap here and then we're going racing.
As much as I don't want to see anything like that happening either, I swear to God, if we get a snooze fest tonight, I am not going to be happy. It's not going to be happening here at Watkins Glen. We are going to be having action of the finest order. I can absolutely assure you of that. And by assure you, I give you no assurances whatsoever. That is just literally some filler ones just to make yourself feel a little bit better. But we are here with you for the entirety of the 60 minutes, just like the majority of these drivers. But mark my words, at the end of tonight, the championship will have changed irrevocably. That's the word I was trying to think of there. Irrevocably means that it can be changed afterwards. There are many other ones that I could have used that were slightly less complicated, but of course my brain just had to go for that one. As it stands though, this championship, there's no coming back from tonight. You know, we're going to narrow it down. I think after tonight, we're going to have about maybe say 3 or 4 actual serious championship contenders outside of mathematical possibilities.
I think that sounds about right, honestly, especially how we see the points now. But that's kind of why I was saying this is such an important race because it sets you up for that last one. So if you are looking, if you're one of like 4th on back and it's kind of marginal, you got to have a good night tonight so that you've got a realistic shot. You can't hope that all your rivals wreck out on the last race of the season. You got to kind of put things in your hands a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's going to be the order of the day here for Amadeo Casarino. That's what he's going to be hoping to do here as the car's making their way around the penultimate corner. Just 2 corners left to go and we go racing for the second to last time this season for the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship. Season 3 has come and gone in the blink of an eye. 11 weeks in and we are still no closer to determining who is going to be the champion, but it is going to be your championship leader Amadeo Casarino who will lead the field of 25 GT3s round here at Watkins Glen for 60 minutes of racing. Do not go anywhere, folks. This is going to be absolutely crucial as we run down to the line. Green flag flies. Great start from Grantis Caracas. In fact, a brilliant start from Caracas. And have a look at Marco Shada. Also try to have a look up the inside there. That was very, very close there. He runs out mashing Malinowski. So Malinowski, your championship contender, thrown back to the wolves there with Tommy Rozier as behind George Boothby. So that is absolutely huge. But have a look at Grantis Caracas. He's in the soul of that Aston Martin. What we do know is that Aston is so fast in the straight line, but does it have the legs on the Ferrari? We'll find out as Boothby queues up the cars all behind him. Tommy Rozier sends the car in as well. And well, it looks like for the first time of Askin, everybody survived that inner loop here.
And I think Malinowski lost a spot into that inner loop despite being on the inside, which was mighty impressive. But they're going to get single file, which is probably wise. Well, except for these guys going 3 wide down into the chute. Samir Foch is going to be able to at least keep it out of the wall, but loses those 2 places.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And the thing is that concertina effect is so large right now as you've got a car trying to go around the outside. That's a brave maneuver there. But have a look at this. Marco Schade in that Honda. He is feeling racy. He is feeling like that car has got a lot of pace in it tonight. And of course, now they've got the full tank of fuel. Now they've got the race tyres on it. It's going to be very interesting to see how that Honda does with those race conditions coming on. You can also see on the left hand side, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that orange number 1 in the timing tower. That means that of course all these cars still have their mandatory pit stop to take. Now that pit stop window will be open from around about 40 minutes to around about 20 minutes left to go in the race. And again, we've seen strategy play a part, but maybe not as big a part during the season here, Joe, as maybe through previous seasons here. And again, looking at the line of stern nature, it does look like we're starting to get a little bit of a slipstream fest here.
Now, the odd thing about the strategy calls here is that you kind of want to make sure that either you're clear behind or you have very clear communication, as Marco, again, kind of showing his nose to the inner loop there, because the pit entry is right after that final turn and it's on the inside. So if you're pitting in, you often have to hold a tighter, slower line. If there's somebody behind you and they're not expecting it, there have been many times over the years I've seen drivers run into one another just because they weren't paying attention and didn't know the car ahead was going to be pitting.
And that really does change everything. So we've got a yellow flag off in the background. That's the number 22 of Roland Stein that has brought out that one. A heavy hit into the barrier from the looks of it. And the bonnet on that car is what we would call up here in Scotland buckled. Absolutely buckled is the front end of that car. But again, I mean, that is... you used the term truly train earlier on there, Joe. I think that is literally a textbook definition of that one.
Yeah, it seems to be. Also, I was kind of expecting more colourful Scottish words from you on that one. But
there's only so many that I can use, Joe. On there.
But no, this is kind of impressive how far down this train goes. I know that often we will get them, but them not having split apart, I mean, they're really like all the way back down to about 24th, I'd say, 23rd maybe, in this entire group. So that is the whole field pulling together.
And cutting back to Maciek Malinowski, now this had to be a big move here as that Porsche onto the back of Tommy Rozier. And again, you can see the rubber banding in effect here as a little bit of a slipstream there. There goes Maciek Malinowski, looks to the inside, but again, he just has to think better of it there. That's going to scupper his chances there because he goes wide onto the curb there, unsettles the car, and now Marco Bischoff and Cody Sherritt are going to come knocking at that door just now. Meanwhile, Grantas Caracas still all over the back end of Amadeo Casarino, but you've got to question at this stage of the race, do any of them even want to challenge for the lead right now? Are they happy for Casarino to do all of the work out there in front and see if they can try and catch it?
I think he's content. What's interesting is that Casarino's Spike Rock is seeming to have better speed the way he's holding on to him. Casarino still has our fastest lap, so he's still running pretty good pace. Nobody behind him is able to really kind of show him better, at least in these early stages. That might still yet change as we hop back over here to Caracas. And let's see what he does down to the 90, because, again, if you're going to make a pass, it's one of the best places. Although sometimes you don't want to overtake there because drivers can just pull the move right back down the backstretch using the slipstream.
Now, did my ears deceive me there, or did we get visited by the super rare ACC Cannon of Doom just a couple of minutes ago there? I heard a massive boom in my ears there, and that's always, I always see that as like a lucky sign, really, that we're in for a fantastic race. And Yeah, it's certainly going to be a very, very curious one right now, because we've got a four-way battle right now. Amadeo Castorino along with Grant Caracas, you've got Marco Shada and George Boothby, and again, I'm convinced right now Grant Caracas doesn't want any of this right now, because he feels comfortable knowing that Marco Shada's not going to push for it and George Boothby's not going to push for it. They're all running away from Tommy Rozier in 5th position, and realistically that's all they need to do, and it feels crazy to think that we've only had 6 minutes off this race here. It honestly feels like we've had at least 20 by this point.
Well, of the top 9, that's the only gap that's over a second right now. That's kind of impressive. Rozier up to Boothby that you mentioned. So he's starting to see a little bit of separation. That might be of some concern. Like I said, the slipstream trains often mean the biggest problem is just making sure that you stay in contention with them and they don't run away from you.
Yeah, and keeping them within your reach, I think, is so important. Like you were saying there, Joe, because what we see 9 times out of 10 is that if you go for a move, and then, like we saw with Maciej Malinowski going through the inner loop, if that move doesn't come off there, or you're unsettled, you lose so much time, and then suddenly your pace is gone, and instead of chasing for, say, the position in front, now suddenly you're having to defend from, say, 2 or 3 cars behind you here.
Yep, and that's why, he's probably just going to try and bide his time. Hope that maybe Tommy, is actually pretty decent on pace, because as long as he's not losing too much more to those ahead, in fact, he gained some time that last lap, then he's going to be okay. But if he starts to see that front group going away, then he's got to have to get up on it and try to make this pass. Looks like he's setting him up. Now, he is going to try. Very late move down to the inside, but can't get the overlap that he needs.
Yeah, I don't understand. So normally what we see is maybe some little gentle bump drafting from some of the cars here as we go back to Jimmy Holm, who has dropped down to 17th position there. I think for Maciej Malinowski, as Eduardo Sanchez comes through for a stop-go 30. Now, I did notice he had a drive-through penalty, and I wonder if he's been speeding in the pit lane. But back to the point about Maciej Malinowski here, I do wonder if he would be better pushing Rozier up to that group in front and making sure that he can stay with them, rather than trying to fight and potentially lose any fight that he's got here. Because for the championship at the moment, P6, that's like a dead sentence right now, because he'll only score from that sixth position a very lowly 81 points. So that's going to be 21 points behind your championship leader, and essentially, you cannot afford to be dropping that amount of points right now.
Well, much like what you get on oval racing with super speedways, these types of tracks are their own beast, and knowing how to run these races is its own skill and knowledge. So I'd be surprised if Malinowski doesn't know about that, but it is possible that he just, isn't switched on enough to be thinking of that trick and saying, okay, I need to work together with him, push him forward, and we can both get up there. Sometimes drivers just are so engaged in what they're doing that they haven't thought about trying to work together. This time he's going to try to stay side by side. Was nearly there as we come back to Bischoff in behind him. I thought for sure he was going to accidentally turn Tommy, because he just about got to him.
Yep, game over now, because here comes Marco Bischoff and Cody Sherritt, as well as Philippe Longmire in with the mix as well now. So this is now, the chance that you had for catching up now has gone. That means that Tommy Rozier will pull back. Oh, that was almost contact going into the corner there from Marco Bischoff. And of course we saw no love lost between these two through the championship so far. Bischoff a little bit further down here, but obviously nothing to lose right now, down in 10th position in the championship. This is not what Malinowski needs right now.
Yeah, the Porsche just about gave him enough space. I think he didn't, honestly, and Bischoff was about 2 tires in the grass, but he got away with it in the end, and that's the important thing if you're Marco. So he'll hold on to that 7th place, but he's going to think twice if Malinowski is going to be pulling moves like that.
Certainly is. 10 minutes have gone in this race, in this penultimate race of the championship. Grantis Caracas still hunting down Amadeo Casarino. So this group has now broken away by 1.6 seconds ahead of Tommy Rozier, who's now got a little bit of a gap as well now to Maciek Malinowski, who now has to worry about the car behind him. Jaroslav Hontik is in the final spot for the top 10 right now, so I think he'll be fairly happy, as there is Grantis Caracas still trying to catch on to Casarino. Casarino jumping about all over the curbs here, and again Caracas wants nothing of it, and that car just in front of them, that is a lapped car. That's a 22 of Roland Stitten. No, that's Eduardo Sanchez, who just came out of pit lane. So it's Eduardo Sanchez serving the stop go early. That's why we've got some lap traffic already.
And he doesn't have to pull out of the way here. It depends on how hard he wants to race them. And honestly, okay, so this answers the question. I was going to say, if he's not going to race them, he probably is going to have to drop back behind many cars, because like we've seen, there's a big train here, and he's not just going to have to try and let one through, but multiple at a time.
Exactly. You just do not have the capacity to do that. And again, that's why we're seeing this all fan out the way that it is. But either way, Amadeo Casarino now under a little bit more pressure here, but again, it feels like this is one of those situations that we see quite a lot, that it's one of those informal, I was going to say friendships, alliances is more the correct word that I would use in this situation. Informal alliances, as Maciek Malinowski, just off of last week there, has decided enough is enough, and he wants to be done with it. That'll be P5 for him.
Now watch this though, if Rozier can be sneaky, he can pass him right back down the back straight, especially since he had the over-under. He should theoretically have a little bit better momentum, and he's pulling up to him, but yeah, Malinowski's wise to that. He covers off the middle lane, and job is now truly done.
Oh my goodness me, this is starting to get a little bit too close for comfort here. But the thing is with Maciek Malinowski now, he had to do that. He had to release himself to be able to catch up to the rest here. 2 seconds is the gap, and he does have the pace that he'll be able to do that. As you can see, that back marker there, the 212 car will get out its way very shortly, as there is no Shea still fighting for P20 right now.
Here's an interesting one. The stewards apparently agree with me. Warning for car 992 not leaving the racing room, so they didn't like the look of that either.
Yep.
I guess the good thing is he's no longer on defense now, so he can focus forward, but he's already not on their good list.
No, I think you were absolutely spot on with that call. It did look overly aggressive, especially at such an early stage of the race here. We weren't even 10 minutes into it, and he'd already decided to put on the war paint, essentially. So yeah, that's not the best, but either way, it's a shot across the bow there, and hopefully he will heed that warning and we'll hear no more about it. But either way, we're up to 45 minutes left to go. The pit stop window will be opening in about 5 minutes time here, and that'll mean that drivers can choose to come in and get their pit stop, their penultimate pit stop of the season, and a chance to roll the dice one last time for essentially the strategy for the tactics that they're going to be using, as we're watching Cody Sherritt here onto the back of Marco Bischoff. Again, this is the battle for 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th position. And again, Joe, you know, a very orderly start to this race here, but again, it seems to be that everybody is just waiting patiently right now.
Indeed, and let's not forget, like we were saying, this is a track that really bites if you make mistakes. Now, thankfully, we've seen precious few at the start. That's good to see everybody respecting it. Looks like, is that Rozier trying to repass Malinowski? It is. Wow. So not what I expected. I thought that he would be dropped by Maciej, but it's just simply not the case. He's making him work for this top 5.
The thing is that I don't think that Tommy Rozier locked into getting that 5th position from Maciej. I think Maciej's struggling for pace with that with that Porsche right now, which would explain why there's only 2 Porsches in the top 10 right now. Ferrari's doing a little bit better, maybe even the McLaren's just now as well, but there goes the Porsche just starting to push a little bit. But realistically though, that's still another half a second that they've lost to that gap in front, so that's now 2.5 seconds. Meanwhile, your gap to Casarino and Caracas again, still half a second there. Marco Schada 0.4 of a second behind. So again, it's very, very quiet, and it honestly feels like, Joe, just the drivers just trying to knock off these laps here.
Watch behind Bischoff here, because Sheraton and Lobmeyer getting a little dangerously close between them, but it looks like Paul's not able to make anything happen this time through. Definitely a lot more single file than I was expecting. Like I said, the draft is usually so powerful here that you'll see drivers fighting, or at least leapfrogging one another, but doesn't seem like it's doing enough this time around. So everybody's trying to be tricky and save a little bit of fuel with one another. It'll more be down to after the pit stops, I think. It's almost kind of a Formula E race right now, where you have to wait until the second half to get all the action as we go side by side once again. And this time it's Bischoff trying to overtake on Razier, but he gets kind of edged out.
Yeah, he does indeed, and that is not going to happen there. The thing is that I always love how aggressive or overly aggressive these drivers get with one another. It's like, it's a straight, you've got enough room on that circuit for 4 cars to fit side by side, and yet somehow you think the best opportunity is to drive your opponent off of the grass. It's always going to be looked very, very dimly, I think, by the stewards. It's always going to be looked down on when they inevitably take a review of it. Now, another point on this is what's happened to George Whitby, because remember, he was up in that lead group, and now he's dropped the whole seconds off of that front 3 right now. So, again, we're just having so many different stories right now with this race here.
I wonder if he had a mistake somewhere that we didn't see, and that happened suddenly, because a bit strange that he would be able to fall off to that extent. Usually, like I said, the draft should be enough that you can at least hold on to them, even if you aren't quite on pace. So I think there must have been something dramatic that happened there that cost him. Also, you know, we've been talking about anybody going to bump draft. Well, Lobmeyer did that on Sherritt out of the final corner this last lap. He had a better exit, decided not to try and pass, and instead pushed Sherritt all the way down the front straight.
I'm watching that gap up to Boothby. It's starting to stabilise a little bit now, and he's starting to get that back. But again, we're not seeing that from Maciej Malinowski. That gap is firmly on the downward trajectory there, and I think Maciej might be the cork in that truly train in that 992 Porsche. But to be fair to Maciej Malinowski, Tommy Razier right now doesn't look anywhere near trying to put any pressure on that car in front of them just now. Too busy with indeed Cody Sherritt and Philip Lobmeyer just behind them, as well as Jaroslav Honzik outside the top 10. So 40 minutes left to go. We're going to see the pit stop window open, I believe, in about 50 seconds time when this comes through. Now again, we've had a bit of a mixed bag here, Joe, in terms of the rest of the season here. We were talking so much about, is it going to be the undercut that's favoured here? Is it going to be the overcut? Is it better to come in nice and early? Is it better to go out a little bit later? I think now, with the way that this track is going, with how intense this is going to be on the tyres here, I think getting in earlier might not be the best thing. I think if they can try and leave it about half and half, it might work out better.
See, I'm still of the mind that the later you go, the better, because especially if you're towards the end of one of these trains, you're going to have so much less fuel to fill to try and finish off this race. So theoretically, you can hop a lot of them if you just wait as long as you can and pit as late as you can, because that means you're going to save more fuel. If you dip early, you won't get as dramatic of an effect. And the pit window has now officially opened.
Seeing that Louis Alexander in P23 has dropped off the back of the field as well now, so he's had A little bit of a moment to himself here as we're watching Marco Bischoff then the fight for P5, 6, 7 and 8 as well, and maybe even P9 because Philip Lobmeyer is still in there as well. You can see more battles behind there. Jaroslav Honzik ahead of Eric Mukska, Terry Kadam and Luke Addison with Alvin Manson in that fight as well. So plenty of battles going on here, and again I honestly think from the way that we're seeing here pace-wise and the way that we're seeing driving-wise here, Grantas Caracas and Marco Schade here are playing just a waiting game with Amadeo Castorino. And to be honest with Castorino, he can choose whatever pace that he wants to go at, and everybody has to dance to his tune. So he'll be happy just to finish, I think, on that podium.
Yeah, but his pace, I think, is still pretty darn good. The fact that they've dropped Boothby and he hasn't been able to catch up, I get the sense that they're pushing relatively hard up at the front, and he's not sitting around.
Possibly. Well, there you go. There's the proof with Grantas Caracas here, still firmly onto the tail end of Amadeo Castorino, but again, not actually making a move here. It's not like other rounds where we'd see the car jinking to the left and jinking to the right wherever possible to try and make a nuisance of themselves and try and get any sort of attention from the driving that they possibly can here. But yeah, it's looking very, very interesting. I think this is all bubbling over very nicely. The wild card in this for me is Marco Schade in that Honda, because I'll be honest, I just don't know what he's going to do. I think he's really enjoying being this far up, but you wouldn't put it past that Honda to actually try and make a move here. As George Boothby now very slowly but very surely starting to come back towards this fight here.
Slowly, though. It's still at about 1.1 seconds. Let's see what it looks like across the line this time by, because it's been about this for some time. Okay, about 2/10 quicker. So yeah, reeling him in just a little bit at the time. Once he gets in reach that he can feel the effects of that draft, then you'll probably see that pick up much faster, and he'll zip up to the back of them. But until then, it's been these kind of small little chips being taken out of him as we check out Tariq Adam on Mukska. This is for a top 10 position.
Certainly is. So 35 minutes gone, 35 minutes left to go in the race as we see side-by-side action with Eric Mukska and Tariq Adam. Tariq Adam just making a move on his teammate. That is going to be an Academy car and the Genisus Esports team car. So that is a move for position, but again, no real sort of fight going on. We've only had one taker in the pit lane at the moment, as we've got a yellow flag as the homing missile, Jimmy Holm, has had an oopsie at the inner loop there. And, well, goodness me, that is that's not what you want to have. But as we said, just one taker, Noel Hatchey, into the pits.
Okay, so not many willing to go early here. Pache may have had some damage that could have been slowing him down. This is another track where you want the car to be nice and clean in a straight line, so that you've got that straight line speed. So it looks like we got a replay. This is home into the inner loop. So let's see what exactly happens. I'm starting to suspect he had a little bit of help here, and absolutely did. That is a good illustration of what I was warning about. If you're going to go in there too wide, both cars need to play ball.
Yeah, and unfortunately he was treated like a pinball there in that one, as we see Marco Bischoff into the pit lane. So is Eric Mukska and Grantas Caracas. So from second place, now this is going to be absolutely huge, because with the pace that Caracas had there in that second place there, I'll be honest, I think he could very easily be able to do a bit of a jump here on that lead car, who is now all out by themselves and doesn't really have anybody else anywhere near them in terms of Marco Schade. Schade's now 0.8 of a second behind them.
Here's the good news. He'll be coming out into clear air. There's nobody close to where he's pitting, and the rest of the field has already gone by. So yeah, I think you're right. I think Grantas is making a very savvy move in this situation, going a little bit early. But now he's going to have to push like the Dickens, because while those guys are still running together, I mean, they could pick up the pace, especially if they saw him jump off like that with a different strategy. They could try and cover him off.
Could be. Did feel like a little bit of a lengthy pit stop though for Genisus Caracas, but he is out in the middle of some very clean air just now, and he's coming out of the inner loop, so he's by himself able to really push that car and absolutely rag it as Castorino comes in then from the lead of the race. That hands things over. I'll be honest with you, Joe. How delighted is Marco Schade going to be that he's leading the race right now?
He's going to be super happy about that. Now he's finally got some clear air in front of him, can run his own race. Not surprised at all that Castorino decided it's go time for the pit stop and to kind of call Grantis's bluff, if you will. We'll see where they come out in relation to one another, but yeah, he's watching him knowing, okay, if he's that much quicker than me, then I can't let him kind of steal the march, because if we go 4, 5, 6 laps difference between us, then by the time I take my stop, he could wind up, you know, 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds up the road.
Exactly, and you just cannot afford that, and that's what we're away to see here as the number 19 comes out the final corner. Then Genisus Caracas comes along. Castorino is out of pit lane, but I think that it's going to be quite comfortably to Caracas here as Castorino gets going, and there is Caracas. So Caracas is going to take the lead of the race very, very narrowly, but it is there. It's not as much of a jump for Caracas as I thought. I thought it was going to be a little bit more dramatic than that. Now, this is a test of where the real pace is for the two of them. Does that Aston Martin, was it holding on to its tyres maybe as Tobias Moberg? That looks like that was 2 wheels out of the pit line there. That could be a warning from race control or a penalty from race control for coming out of the pit box.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, Santema was the one that was involved in that accident we saw with Holm. He's been given 10 seconds of hold because of his collision that he had there with the 777 car. So he's going to have to pay that one back. And he hasn't taken his pit stop yet, so it should put him where, you know, he'll be, so he doesn't have to worry about post-race it getting added and trying to sort of metaphysically hold other cars off.
Certainly is. But we'll wait and see, I think, as well, because it's just one of those races. I mean, look, we said all the way through that the championship is just way too close to call. But, I mean, this is just ridiculous right now, as George Boothby now has inherited the lead of the race, because we've got Ronaldo Boersma into pit lane. Marco Schade just coming out of pit lane as well. Now, actually, hang on. Marco Schade is just coming out of pit lane. That's a hell of a short stop for Schade. So could Schade actually go and take the lead here right now? We'll find out. He's just coming through that corner. He's a little bit off there. I was a little bit overly optimistic on that one, unfortunately, Joe. I got a bit carried away. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell, especially with the way that the pit exit work here. You know, it's quite a bit shorter. But you have to remember it's a long run down that pit lane before you get to the cones. And in fact, I'd almost say that Marco maybe missed out. This might be the undercut that we're seeing actually finally working, with those two having had, 2 or 3 laps essentially racing on their own while Marco was staying out. Boothby has not pitted yet, though. But we know he was trying to play catch-up, and he was gaining on them slightly. So I'm not sure if this will work for him. This is kind of a question mark in my head as we're going to watch Manson take his stop.
I do wonder about Archie Malinowski, because I think we could have maybe just seen his title or his championship attack maybe going down the plug hole on this one. Might be a little bit too early, but just the vibes that I've got is that Porsche just not able to keep the pace right now. with these front runners. We'll see a top 5 result would still mathematically keep him in contention, but again, as we said, mathematically it's just not enough coming into this final round. So we've got 9 minutes left to go in the pit window. I would imagine Boothby then, if he's not coming in at halfway, if he doesn't come in this lap, then it's likely going to be 2-3 laps before we see him into the pit lane, as Marco Bischoff still chasing down Tommy Rozier here. What a mixed race that Tommy Rozier has had. Obviously was in the top 5 for the start of the race here. It's kind of been whittled down behind quite a few of the other drivers here. I think he'll go down to about sort of P6, P7 there, but I do think he's got enough to possibly get right back up. But also I'm noticing he's still behind Maciej Malinowski there.
Yep, both of them, Marco and Tommy, are still kind of sitting in behind, so it picks up almost exactly how it left off for them. Boothby still needs to take his pit stop. We're waiting to see, what's going to happen up there. I think Santema, Foch, Clifford all need their stops. I think they're the last ones, that need to take their pit stop.
Okay, that happened then. It was almost some group action there from the Genesis eSports car there, trying to attack Paul Lobmeyer there for Babel Performance. Not quite going to happen though, as Jonathan Clifford is into the pit lane. And this is the problem that we've seen time and time again here, is that cars tripping over each other, trying to push and trying to harass as much as they possibly can. And they want to try and get a position, make a move. It doesn't go well, and then suddenly they're having to fight their either teammate, or they're having to claw onto whatever position that they actually had here. As we go back to Marco Bischoff chasing down Tommy Rozier, there is Maciej Malinowski in the middle of no man's land. That did look like that was a big hit onto the wall there for Tariq Adam.
Yeah, sometimes that could be a netcode hit, if you will, but from our perspective, it looks like he may have gotten some great damage out of that. Bischoff still kind of watching in here from the top 10, currently sitting 9th place, actually. Rozier is actually losing time to him, it looks like, coming up the S's. No, in fact, Tommy's on the attack. Malinowski goes well to the inside. Wow. This time he leaves a little bit of space for him, but Tommy still can't get it done.
Yeah, and again, you see the momentum gone from Tommy Rozier there, and it immediately goes back to Marco Bischoff. This is, okay. Right, George Boothby into the pits finally. 6 minutes left to go here. And this is starting to get a little bit heated in this race here. It's getting a little bit temperamental with 26 minutes left to go. It's Geraint Caracas, though, that is... into the lead now by 1.3 seconds. So that gap has actually gone up quite a bit, though.
It has. Huh. Okay, so what did Castorino do that...
Well, that makes sense, though, Joe, because remember, Caracas had the pace of Castorino all the way through. Castorino was in the lead and was hustling him. This is obviously just the raw pace of the Ferrari right now.
Good catch on that one. Yeah, I think you're right. He was waiting till the latter half. Once he had the track position, he said peace out and is gone now. Boothby's just finishing up his pit stop and still stationary. Came down off the jacks, but away goes the top 2. He might actually come out just behind Shada.
It's going to be just as you are. In fact, actually, to be fair, remember, Boothby was about a second, 1.5 seconds off of Marco Shada just before the pit stops, actually. So he has gained, I think, a little bit, although maybe by the time he gets up to speed, maybe that's all going to have been whittled out here. Right, well, there we go. Any excitement that we had there for George Boothby has now completely gone. It's so difficult, isn't it? You know, we try and inject enthusiasm and excitement, and yeah, it is what it is.
To be fair, he's only about 8/10 off. That's definitely... He's definitely got the ability to try and catch him a little bit here. As we check back in with Tommy Rozier behind him. He and Malinowski still carrying on this battle. Tommy's got to be careful, though, because Marco is right on top of both of them. If Tommy makes a move that blunts his momentum down one of these longer straights, he's going to be a sitting duck. He needs to be very strategic about how and when he makes a move.
He absolutely does. So that's our last two drivers into pit lane, Abe Santima and Samir Foch from first and second place, which they inherited. That is now going to throw the lead back to Grantis Caracas now, who has a 1.2 second gap over Amadeo Castorino, your championship leader. But more importantly for the championship, that puts him 2 places ahead of one of the championship contender, George Boothby, who is 14 points behind. So that will give him, let me work this out, I think that is going to give an extra, about an extra 9 points over this. So it's not enough. It's not enough to be secure in the championship, but it's just as good, I think, for Amadeo Castorino as what you can expect from that race win.
Yeah, and I think Castorino knows this. I think, going back on what I was talking about earlier about positioning yourself, the last thing you want is for your rival to be able to points race you. That's what I mean when I say, things are out of your hands. If all he has to do is finish second, third, fourth, anywhere up there, and you win the race and you do everything you can, at that point, you're just basically kind of a lame duck. You're getting the perfect race, you're getting maximum points, but you still don't get the championship because the other driver has done so well through the rest of the season that all they got to do is tie it in a nice little bow.
And that's exactly what we are seeing here tonight. One hand on the trophy for Amadeo Castorino. Realistically, it's Boothby and Malinowski that have to do the work here, that have to push as hard as they can to try and undo this lead that he's got just out. And at the moment, it's not enough. But what is good is the fact that it's slightly bringing the gap down to Grantis Caracas. So he'll get a couple of points here.
And what's good is we're getting some battles now. Muxka and Sherrod. Actually, Muxka was kind of shoved off into the grass a bit, and now he properly hits the wall, exiting the final corner. So Cody might be able to run away unless Eric has managed to miraculously get away without really pancaking that left-hand side.
Yeah, it sounds like that might have been a netcode hit rather than an actual hit there, but either way, it was still pretty jarring, because here comes Eric Muxka then on to Cody Sherritt. Have a look at Albin Manson also up there in the background. We've got a three-way fight for 11th position. I just don't have a good feeling about this, as Manson backs out and he's like, I don't want any of this whatsoever here. Luke Addison is catching right up to here, but also noticing that George Boothby now is right onto the back of Marco Jada. So this fight for P3 is getting very spicy. But again, George Boothby isn't the sort of driver that I would put in the term of spicy's cool, calm, collected. If he's going to make a move, it'll be a precise and well thought out move.
And remember how easily Shada was holding on to that front group earlier. Because he did not pit when they pitted, this is why we saw Castorino respond to Grantis. He knew that he'd be vulnerable if he didn't, and even though he did, even still, Caracas is away by about a second right now. But look at Marco's gap. 3 seconds off of them at this stage. And not only that, having to deal with George Boothby, just kind of hoping and praying he can somehow hold on to this podium finish.
Yeah, this is a very different potential look for the championship as well. If Boothby is able to get himself up into that P3, then again it might be a very, very different look, because obviously that's even more points that get lost from that lead of Amadeo Castorino. I think that would take it down to around about probably 8 points difference or 7 points difference with that position change as well. But you can see how much that Ferrari is basically coming to life here in the second half. But what I am also noticing, remember that gap was about 1.5 seconds between Caracas and Castorino. That's back under a second here. So I'm a little bit curious as to maybe the Ferrari, maybe the tyres are being pushed a little bit too hard here, or maybe just it was a mistake from Caracas.
Could have been, because I'm looking at Boothby's car, and his Ferrari is way better here at the end of the race, that's for sure. Just phenomenally fast as he's trying to hound Marco into a mistake. But we'll keep an eye on that gap between Grantis and Amadeo up at the front to see which way that's going to go in the end. Because it could be, like you said, he just had a little hiccup, and maybe he'll get all that time right back by the end. It's certainly not a huge gap. We keep talking about it as though, this is insurmountable. It's only a second apart. We've seen little mistakes here and there can make the difference. Grantis could still throw this win away.
I'm just watching as George Boothby is making his way down into the 90 and trying to ponder on that one, because I dare not even think about Grantis throwing that away at such a late stage of the race. It is possible. I think that if Castorino does get a win out of this tonight, I think it makes it very, very difficult going into the final rounds. And actually, there's a great talking point here, Joe, is that final round. We've not really discussed it, because that is going to be that's going to be absolute torture. 90 minutes at the Nordschleife.
Torture for you, but I'll be in heaven.
Oh no, it's my favourite racetrack. I'm on about it for the drivers though.
Yeah, this is true. No, I love that is going to be the last round. And again, another reason to try and position yourself well, because things can go awry. And that, might be the one saving grace if you are a distant shot for the championship coming into the final round. If you find that you're a good driver, or at least a safe driver around the Nürburgring, if you can keep it on the island there and come away with a decent finish, you actually could have a number of your rivals wreck out. Now, again, I wouldn't rely on it, but it's a possibility.
Well, I'm thinking that me and you need to get ourselves involved in that last race of the season, get a little grudge match on the go, and maybe commentate from live at the circuit. I think that would be a unique angle. I'm not sure our broadcast production team would be sold on that idea, but it's a nice idea nonetheless.
Hey, are you going to pay for my plane tickets?
Yes.
Seriously? Because I'll travel.
Yeah, well, it's a virtual race there, Joe. I'm on about taking part in the virtual race, Joe. Not on about coming over to Germany into the real life Nordschleife. But to be fair though, we might get more racing than they actually managed to do at the 24 this year.
That's true. Yeah, weather was a little bit sketchy at times, unfortunately. But get these two coming down through the inner loop. Bischoff versus Razier. And my goodness, just laying the pressure on thick for that sixth position. Just can't seem to do anything. These two, though, are two McLarens, so same make of car. Theoretically have an equal fight on this one. They could have slightly different setups, but their strengths and weaknesses should be pretty darn close.
Just seeing the time again coming down between your race leader and second position. Now this is getting very, very spicy indeed. At Castorino now 0.8 of a second, and there's nobody anywhere near here, so this is all on raw pace. Maybe that Aston has been a little bit more gentle, bringing its tyres back up the temperature after that pit stop here, or maybe the Ferrari just starting to feel the heat of pushing as much as they can. Now, just because you are able to drive fast doesn't mean the car is able to drive fast consistently and repeatedly over a number of laps here, and that's what we sometimes find here, Joe, isn't it? That cars with the setups that they've got, they can drive, really hot laps here, but it can come to the detriment of longevity, and they struggle with tyre temperatures and tyre pressures.
If it gives you an idea how closely matched, though, these top drivers are, besides what we already saw with the with the qualifying. I mean, this last lap for Caracas, a 43.747, whereas Boothby down in fourth, 43.852. I mean, barely a tenth slower, and he's actually trailing behind another car. So he has a hindrance compared to Caracas. Theoretically should be a fair bit slower. So top four are all still running shockingly similar pace.
And the thing about that as well is that it's just like it's metronomic, isn't it? The pace that they're putting in, because it's not just they're doing fast laps; they're doing fast lap after fast lap after fast lap after fast lap, and that's what separates them from your normal everyday sim racer. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you out there in the Genesis Extreme YouTube chat, type in "boot" in the YouTube chat to get yourself in with a chance of winning our viewer participation prize. That's a chance to win a $10 Steam voucher, and it's lots of content always on sale, wink wink nudge nudge, on ACC. And also, if you scan the QR codes at the bottom right of your screen, you can claim your lifetime license to ACC Drive, your one-stop shop for everything ACC, whether you need a virtual race engineer to help you develop those winning car setups, or you need some telemetry data, or you need some sort of guidance or live timings for your extra screens or live stream, then get yourself on ACC Drive. For a limited time only, you can get a special price on that when you scan the QR codes in the bottom right of the screen just now. So coming up to 10 minutes left to go here in Castorino. Okay, this is changed now. This is now 0.2 of a second. What is going on with that Ferrari? He is he maybe trying to back up into Shada, because surely that's too risky with 4 seconds being the gap.
Well, I'm gonna play the Murray Walker here. It's one thing for him to catch Caracas. It's going to be a completely other thing to try and pass him. We've seen cars that looked pretty quick have trouble getting side by side and finishing up the pass, especially down the back straight into the inner loop. So I think Amadeo is going to have to be pushing hard. He's going to have to really lay it on and force Caracas to have to go defensive, go offline to hold on to this lead, because he can't. I don't think he's got enough time to just sit around, and especially with how well everybody's been racing out here. We've seen so few mistakes from so many of the drivers, especially up at the top. I think he's just going to have to be full aggression mode.
So you're saying there's a chance with this?
I think so. I think Castorino, the way he's closed in, you were absolutely right. I was doubtful at first and thought that Grantis maybe did make a mistake, but this has been consistent. Castorino pulling him in. He's now there. He's been within this half a second for a few laps, so he's within position, but now he's got to set himself up.
And that's, I think, exactly what we're seeing him do here, because once he gets onto that slipstream of Grantis Caracas as well, he can ease off just a tiny little bit, but enough to cool the tyres down, get them back into that optimum operating window there, and also start to play the mind games with Grantis Caracas and force that Ferrari to maybe push itself a little bit further than it normally would have to here. And the other thing with George Boothby here is it's always surprising me, because I see these drivers time and time again, and again, this maybe says more about me as a commentator than these drivers here, because whenever we speak to them and you think, oh well, George, you've been trailing behind Marco Schada, why didn't you just overtake him? And he comes on and he's like, that was my pace. I was pushing the car as hard as I could. I wasn't keeping anything in the tank there. There was no sort of hidden boost button that I was keeping back for later on. So again, we can't take anything away from the likes of Marco Schada here. Fair enough, we haven't seen that Honda maybe as up front as we'd like to during the season here, but a hell of a job given how few Hondas we do see on the field.
And you make a good point, because often, you look at drivers like Castorino who look really quick in this race, and seems like he could maybe get a shot at the win, but these wins are not easy. Like you said, if he had something, he would have used it. If there was extra pace in there, surely he would have unleashed it in this second half a little bit more and not left it to this late. So I think this is an all-out slugfest now at this point of drivers pushing these things to the limit.
No, absolutely. I think you're absolutely spot on with that. But I also think that 10 minutes is a long time for these drivers here. And I think that both Castorino and maybe Boothby are both just waiting for that perfect moment here as we see Jimmy Holm losing another position, or at least trying to take another position. So I thought he was losing a position. This is him on the attack here on no hit chase. So this is for P18 just now, as you've got Samir Forge trying to sneak up on the inside as well. I've got a horrible feeling about this, because how often do we see that Jimmy Holm comes up into our attention, into our radar for all the very wrong reasons. Moves to one side, then the other, tries to go around the outside. There goes Jonathan Clifford. And to be fair, that's a beautiful move there from Jonathan Clifford as Jimmy Holm tries to lean on him. But again, that is always going to be the way of Jonathan Clifford there.
Yep, and like you said, that was spot on from Clifford as we check back in with that battle for the lead. But yeah, Clifford saw it happening, knew that he just needed to time it right, and he did. Because, I mean, he was side by side exiting the inner loop. That's not easy to do, and also take some trust in your competitors.
It really does, and that's exactly what... I'm not going to be honest. That's not what I would have said for those two going side by side. But they showed that they could do it. They showed that Clifford and Holmes showed that they can trust on each other. It did look like Holmes was leaning on Clifford a little bit there, and Clifford, could have made an issue of that, but decided not to. But either way, 8 minutes left to go in this race. We're back up at the front. Grantas Caracas then doing everything that he can right now, we believe, to hold on to this race. Has Castorino got anything else left to go, or is this all the absolute pace right now of Grantas Caracas? Time will tell. I tell you what, the post-race interviews here, Joe, are going to be a very, very interesting read into how drivers are feeling about this championship.
No doubt. And, I'd have to take a look at the points again, try and see, because Castorino, I mean, I doubt he's point racing at this stage. I'm sure he wants to try and get the win, but we've seen part of his strength this season is just collecting finishes, time after time, finishing up towards the front, race after race, and that's why he's in the hunt for that championship. So if he only has a second place car today, is that maybe kind of what he's thinking here, is let's not throw this away. Let's make sure I'm in a good spot for the final race.
Well, we'll certainly see, but that was a bit of an opportunity there for George Boothby. Didn't quite come off there, but the Ferrari deciding that enough is enough, and that he is going to be pushing as hard as he can. Driver of the day vote is up. You've got 4 options as always to choose from: Grantas Caracas, Amadeo Castorino, Marco Schade, or George Boothby. And for me, in all honesty, I think that my vote would have to go for potentially Marco Schade here.
Really? Interesting. I was going to say Caracas. I mean, played it perfectly in the pit stops. Now, he hasn't finished it yet to try and bring this one home. He's got to stick with it. But, I mean, wow. In such a close race between these top runners, where the qualifying saw many of them within about a tenth of a second of each other, that was some very clever and very patient driving from the 19.
Absolutely, and I think he's a very strong contender, and that's Boothby! Oh no, sorry, that was Boothby! That was Boothby hitting the wall!
Oh.
On the exit of the corner there, I thought I saw things out of the corner of my eye there. I'm absolutely positive it would be amazing if we can queue up a replay of that, but oh my goodness me. And that car looks absolutely stricken. I mean, it's gone from 0.2 of a second down to 2 seconds now. And I wonder if there's severe real damage on the front right of that car there, Joe. That was a hefty hit from George Boothby, and given that he is currently 3rd in the championship, that could be irreparable damage to that championship contention.
the chute is a downhill corner, so it's always going to feel a little bit understeer. In fact, it's a weird mix of feeling snappy at times, and then other times you just can't seem to get the car to corner, and that looks to be the case this time, because I mean it just kind of drifted out almost lazily, like he thought, you know, he had more space for the run, and then it just suddenly ran out.
Wow, that is huge, absolutely huge, but this is huge as well. Here comes Amadeo Castorino side by side with Caracas as they come into the inner loop. The playtime is over. The little friendly alliance that they had for the majority of the race is over, and Castorino has now shown his face. Caracas knows that there's no more playing now. It is literally every driver for themselves right now, and to be honest, with the amount that Castorino has held in reserve here, if Castorino can take this lead back towards the end here, I would have to change my driver of the day to Castorino.
I think Caracas still holds the upper hand in this one, just because it seems like passing has been supremely difficult today. So if Rantis doesn't make any ill-fated moves in his defense and knows how to get the exits off the corner, I think he could still hold on to this one. He just needs to make sure and focus on those corner exits. That's the big part of this one.
Let's keep an eye on how this is all going to unfold, because we've only got a couple of minutes left to go here. And Castorino a little bit too far back to be thinking of anything right here. It's all about getting a good exit out of this final corner and dragging himself up to the tail end of that Ferrari as they go across the line. I think we've got another 3 laps left to go here, just, and I do mean just right now. We go into the 90 then for one of our final times here. But Joe, this looks like it looks like he's right onto the tail end of that Ferrari. Great run coming up through the top of the hill here, side by side, before they even get onto the back stretch here. This is going to be absolutely dramatic stuff.
He's going to have to be super good on the brakes. He's just slightly ahead, but coming back at him. Grantis all the way over the curb, tries his best to hold on, but it was for naught. I almost thought they were going to come together, but great respect from the pair.
That was unbelievable. Does Caracas have anything left in the tank? Does he have anything to do it? Because it's one thing being able to get past, but then the screw turns on Castorino. It's Castorino's turn to deal with 2.5 minutes worth of pressure, and believe me, that is still a long time indeed. Boothby is, believe it or not, still catching back up on Marco Schada just now. That gap has gone from 2.3 to 1.8 seconds, and it's slow coming down even as we speak just now. But 2 minutes 20 left to go in this penultimate race of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship Season 3. It's round 11 here from Watkins Glen. David Christie and Joe Peak on the mic here, bringing you all of this action. And we are just minutes away from getting some sort of a resolution here. This is Tommy Rozier chasing down another of the championship protagonists here, Maciek Malinowski. But as it stands, it is going to be a significant extension to the lead for Amadeo Castorino. And realistically, Caracas is going to have to do the work coming into this into the 90 with 2 laps left to go.
I don't think this is over, but man, Castorino, I mean, nerves of steel. This has been amazing. Also, credit to George. I wonder if maybe that, you know, it wasn't damage. It was just more so he was feeling the car out afterwards, not wanting to push it too hard to make sure the car was okay. And once he realized, yep, everything's hunky-dory, was basically back on the throttle.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of caution maybe for George Boothby, but you're absolutely spot on. He's back on it now, but is it going to be enough? Because it's now gone back out again. As there we go, Caracas hugs that inside line here. He's all over the back of Amadeo Castorino here, as this is going to be touch and go coming into this final lap here. I honestly get the feeling that there's going to be contact between these two, that there's going to be something untoward's happening between the two of them. Meanwhile, look at Marco Schada just in the background, quite happily tootling along in his sole Honda right now, up there in that final step of the podium. But it's all about these two just now, with 30 seconds left to go in the penultimate round of the championship here. So they'll go on to their final lap. and well, it's still too close.
And I think we have a major development. I think Malinowski's short on fuel. He let Tommy Rozier by with ease, and now Bischoff is attacking him extremely hard. So yeah, watch this. I mean, at first I thought maybe he had like a penalty or something that he had to give this spot up, but no. He's basically braking extremely early for the corners. He cut it too tight.
That's an amazing catch. Thank you so much for that, Joe. Didn't even see that one happening, and indeed he is falling all the way down here. So we'll keep an eye on that that car in 6th. That again, that could be huge drama, and we've got a big yellow flag as the number 13 slows down on the back stretch there. That is just a lapped car getting out of the way, but we're on white flag here. Does Genisus Caracas have anything left to do right now? Because it's now or never for the number 19 driver. Amadeo Castorino, your championship leader, has all of the aces in his pocket right now. Is there a final chapter to this race here tonight? I've got my reservations about it. It does look like that could be it done and dusted, but again, it's not over just yet. Look at how close that Ferrari's able to close up here. We've only got around about 4 more corners left to go.
I was going to say, these two have just had an absolute chess match out there. That's what amazes me about this, is it hasn't been a raw fight out there. It's been each managing their pace, managing the strategy, and it's been very subtle but impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, I think they'll both leave with a big smile on their face. They've left nothing on the table tonight, but 2 corners left to go. Here we go then, into the final corner. From a very, very unlikely 20 minutes there, it's going to be Amadeo Castorino to take the win ahead of Genisus Caracas. Marco Schara is going to finish in P3. George Boothby comes across the line just in P4. Tommy Rozier comes across the line in P5. Marco Bischoff in P6. And look at that, Maciej Malinowski is going to just get himself over the line, and only just. That is huge. That is almost certainly, Joe, going to be Maciej Malinowski out of the championship.
You have to take fine margins when you're fighting at the top like this, especially when it's for a title. And sometimes you overstep those margins. As boy, Samir overstepped the margin of the track. He's going to finish the race, but he doesn't need that car anymore.
Yeah, he is done with that one. Maciej Malinowski has just lost 27 points by dropping down to the position where he is just now, and that's only on the position compared to that win. That now drops down Maciej Malinowski by around about 49 points off of that. So given that it was about 4 points coming in here, I mean, it's again mathematically possible, but that's not enough going into the final race of the season here, Joe.
It is certainly not. And unfortunately, he's now got to kind of hope that other people have slip-ups and problems in the final race. Not impossible, but it's he's made his bed, essentially.
Certainly has. So we'll wait for some drivers to come in for some post-race interviews, as I can see quite a few of them down there in the social room. What I love about this as well, Joe, is that all the drivers are at least a good amount of them normally on voice chat for the majority of the race, and they seem to have a little blether with each other.
Braver than I am. I get too easily distracted with people chatting in the race like that, and more than that, I'm of the mind that, it's like, I don't need to push the microphone button unless it's absolutely necessary during a race, because I don't know what's going on except from within my car. So I really don't need to communicate with the others unless I ultimately need to.
Yeah, that's well, I like to sing my own voice. But in the meantime, let's go and have a chat with your race leader. A very warm welcome to Amadeo Castorino. Amadeo, that was a little bit nip and tuck at the end there.
Yeah, it was quite like hard to manage also, like you have to be very cold also for doing overtake like that, because like those I said on the chicane wasn't that that easy, also because the risk is pretty high. But like I have to say, like congrats to Caritas, because it was pretty clean in that chicane, also because he have less to lose than me, because in the championship he is a bit behind. And yeah, I wasn't hoping to overtook him again, honestly, because I was just, yeah, P2 is fine, I'm gaining point on Butby and Malinowski. But, you know, like, if you have a chance, you have to try. I was just behind, like, hoping he did a small mistake, and then he did a mistake, I have my chance, and he went well, luckily.
And obviously, we've got to now start looking at the points here. We've got dropped rounds. You went in as the leader of the championship, taking a race win going into that final round. That must leave you feeling very, very good indeed.
Yeah, for sure. I have, I think, a small margin to manage in terms of points for the last race, so that's always good. But you can't relax too much because the level is pretty high, so it's easy to lose a lot of position in a race, and so. And the last race is Nordschleife, so will be pretty hard. It's a pretty difficult track, so we'll see for the next race. Will be hard for sure.
What's your thoughts on the Nordschleife? Is it a track that you particularly like, or are you not a fan of it?
I have no idea, honestly, because like it's a good track to drive for sure. It's pretty long track, like you have a lot of different type of corners, so for sure it's enjoyable to drive. But I never did a race on that track in any simulator, so I have a lot of work to do for this week for preparing myself well. So I don't know what to expect, honestly, but hope to defend, to do a damage limitation for the last race.
And finally, do you have anybody that you want to say thanks or hello to this week?
Yeah. I can say thanks to my new team, the Coach Dave Academy, for the opportunity to represent them in every race, pretty much. So thanks to them, it's a good start, I think. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent stuff. Well, congratulations, Amadeo. Best luck going into the final round, and congratulations on the race win.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff. So there you go, Amadeo Castorino from the winning step on that podium. And Joe, I believe you've got Marco Shad. Our second place Grantis Caracas to have a chat with.
And dude, indeed, I have Grantis up here. And Grantis, I'm curious about what was going on in that race, because we can only observe from the outside, and it looked like you were faster in the first half, and we thought you would run away in the second half. And you did initially, putting a small gap, but then he kind of caught you back up. Was it something where the tires went away, or do you think he was holding back a bit? What's your opinion?
Yeah, a bit strange compared to the first and second, since they were both very different. Yeah, obviously I had the pace, as you said, in the first stint, like way more pace. I don't know. Amadeo was a bit too slow in the first stint. I don't know why was he so slow like that. Maybe overfueled or something. And then, yeah, obviously I made a huge undercut, which obviously I know that I'm gonna sacrifice my tires in the end, you know. Obviously I paid off the undercut, and I ran away somehow. But in the end, yeah, I just didn't have enough tires left, unfortunately. And he was really quick in the seconds that, you know, we just had so much more pace than in the first, compared to the first. And so, yeah, fair play to him, and it was a good battle. I enjoyed it.
It looked pretty intense there, that pass that he put on you going into the inner loop, but passing seemed a bit harder than I thought it would be. This place has such a powerful slipstream. Usually I thought that, you know, we'd see a few more overtakes out there. Did that catch you off guard, or did you expect the passing to be as it was?
Yeah, honestly, I expected it will be earlier than it was. He catch me like when it was like 11 minutes left of the race, so I thought he's gonna, like, after 1 or 2 laps, he's gonna get me, because, you know, he's getting closer and closer, and then eventually when he gets close enough, he's just gonna, you know, overtake me easily. I was a bit surprised that the slipstream didn't work as I thought it would be. So I thought, okay, maybe I have a chance, you know. If I don't make a mistake and just drive pretty much perfect, then, you know, I think I can do it. But unfortunately, mistake happened in turn 1 on the exit, and yeah, obviously, you know, it had to happen at some point. You know, I'm not gonna be mistakeless for the whole race. So yeah.
Well, speaking of trying to avoid mistakes, the next track is a bit of a specialist circuit that doesn't take mistakes kindly. How are you at the Nürburgring?
Yeah, Nürburgring, obviously, Nordschleife is an amazing track. Probably my favorite tracks in the world. Not my best, but I definitely enjoy driving here, and should be a really good last round here in Genisus.
Well, I look forward to seeing how you fare, and congratulations on a podium.
Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.
Grantis Caracas, our second place finisher. David, I believe you've got a chance to chat with Marco, our third place finisher.
Yep, let's go and drag him into the booth here and get him off mute. A very warm welcome, and I think this might be, Marco, your first ever trip to the interview room after a race here. Congratulations on third place there. Hell of a race for the Honda.
Yeah, thank you very much. You're right. First podium, first interview since a long time. So yeah, but I'm very surprised that I was that fast, and obviously the Honda had some favorite BOP tonight. But yeah, it was great racing, and very nice to have battles with guys like Caracas, Castorino, Boosby. That's just amazing.
I mean, now you said about being fast, Marco, but god damn, that Honda was so rapid on the start of the race there, easily able to hold up with Caracas and Amadeo Castorino there. Was there a point where you thought, well, actually, I might be on for this?
Only in the first stint, to be honest. I thought I could go faster than Grantas for a couple of laps, but I choose to not pass him, just to play the long game, because when you start fighting and Amadeo just goes straight away and we just lose positions and time, then the game is over. But my pit entry was not that great, and the outlap was also very, very slow. So at this point, I realized, okay, there's no chance to win tonight, but to save the podium at least.
And obviously now we've given you another taste of the podium and coming up and having a chat. Is this going to inspire you into to next week at the Nordschleife?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Honda is a great car on the Nordschleife. Very, very fun to drive, and I think I will watch your stream with a beer in my hand.
I'm loving it. That makes two of us. Marco, do you have anybody else that you want to say hello to or say thanks to tonight?
I just want to thank my chat, of course. I'm streaming as well on Twitch, and the guys, as every time, great entertaining and also supportive, because I just already started to drop mood, and yeah, they pushed me up again. This was great. So thank you very much for everyone participating in here, and yeah, have nice streams and nice races here as long as we can.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, Marco, congratulations on P3. Absolutely deserved today, and we will see you next week out.
Bye.
There we go then. Marco Schara rounding out our podium interviews here tonight. So all that's left to do tonight, Joe, is to spin the spinning wheel of Spinningtons.
Okay,
that's my new name for it.
I love it. It's very short and concise.
It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Okay, well, which driver? Is,
driver participation is going to be up first. So I think tonight I've kind of hogged this one, so I'm going to give both the wheels to you tonight, Joe, to let you pass your luck onto it.
All right, let's spin away. Let's see who comes away with it. Is our winner going to get it twice, or we got somebody farther down the order maybe going to bring it home? And I'd say so. Is
that Caracas? Oh, Grantis Caracas. Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Stein, man, he got robbed. He didn't have a good race. He could have used that, but it's random. So congratulations to Grantis. So.
I'm fairly sure that's not the first time we've seen him winning that driver participation wheel. Of course, the drivers there winning a 1-month subscription to Coach Dave Delta. So a huge thank you to Coach Dave Delta for supplying us with those subscription codes. And then up next we have got our our viewer participation wheel. This is for viewers that put in the word boot into YouTube chat. So Joe, over to you for this one.
All right, let's spin away. Let's see who's got a snake in their boot and maybe who finds a bit of a better surprise as we come to a halt. Dutch F31. No, again, just past it. Eva MKD is going to be our winner for this one.
There we go then. So that is both of our giveaways done for tonight. Final thoughts then, Joe, as we see the sun setting here at Watkins Glen. Castorino taking a decisive lead in the championship going into Nordschleife. But I'll be honest, out of all the rounds, I am giddy with excitement for next week.
Yeah, today was a very hard-boiled race, if we could put it that way. But bring on the Nordschleife. I have been looking forward to this all season long, and hopefully we get plenty of drivers out there, because one thing that makes a race at the ring better is lots of cars.
It certainly does. All that remains then is to thank our partners of Immersive Labs. A huge thank you to all of you at home for watching as well. Huge thank you to Joe Peak for joining me, David Christate here in the commentary box, as well as Daniel Costello bringing us all of the wonderful sound and vision here on the Genesis Extreme channel. We set the scene for next week then as we head to Germany for the final round of Season 3. Amadeo Castorino has one hand on the title. Will he lift it aloft? Tune in same time next week. Until then, take care and stay safe. The engines roar in the background, the sun begins to set, the green flag flies, and we are racing here in very, very sketchy indeed contact, and there goes Valentin Barrier. So, the leader's lost it. Noah Ader loses it into the gravel at the final corner, loses the lead. That's an amazing bit of work there from Luke Addison.
Inside we have three abreast heading into Brual.
It's been lights to flag victory for George Bidway. He's done everything that's been required. It's looked so bloody easy yet again.